Jurors were selected today for Paul Manafort's criminal trial in the Eastern District of Virginia. Manafort is in deep trouble, and though he has not been convicted of anything, he's already being punished severely. A large group of FBI agents, all of them armed, stormed into his home earlier this year, apparently surprising his wife in the shower, terrifying his family. They could have made a simple call to his lawyer, but they didn't. Manafort then had his bail revoked in an unusual penalty, that is, for a 68-year-old man with no criminal convictions. He has been held in solitary confinement pretty much ever since for 23 hours a day. For the crimes he's accused of in the state of Virginia, Manafort now faces 305 years in prison. That's several life sentences. So what exactly is Paul Manafort accused of doing? If you guessed murder, guess again. Most murderers don't get treated like that by the government. The average violent felon in this country receives just 6.5 years behind bars. No, Paul Manafort is accused of something far worse than murder, tax evasion and violating banking regulations. The government isn't even suggesting that Manafort stole money from a bank. They're saying he was dishonest on loan applications. For that, solitary confinement and 305 years in prison. Well, if you're confused, maybe this will clear up the story for you. The prosecutor leading the case against Paul Manafort is named Andrew Weissman. He's an enthusiastic Democratic partisan. He was a guest at Hillary Clinton's election night party in New York. Now he's trying to send Donald Trump's campaign manager to prison for life on a tax charge. For perspective on that, the average sentence for tax fraud in this country is 1 year and 3 months. It can be much longer, though, if you have the wrong politics, apparently. Alan Dershowitz is a retired Harvard Law School professor, the author of The Case Against Impeaching Trump. He joins us tonight. Professor, I'm going to make the obvious disclaimer. I don't know Paul Manafort. I'm certainly not going to vouch for his ethics. But looking at this pretty carefully, this is a case about tax evasion and bank fraud. And he's getting a sentence, or he's threatened with a sentence that is so disproportionate compared to the average that it makes you wonder, like, what is going on here?
Well, it's very simple. His crime is being associated with Donald Trump. And don't listen to me on this. Listen to Judge Ellis, the judge who's presiding over the case. The judge ruled and said they're not interested in Manafort. Mueller is not interested in Manafort. They're just trying to get him convicted so they can squeeze him. And if you squeeze a witness, not only does the witness sing, but sometimes, according to the judge, the witness composes. That is, he becomes creative. He makes up information. He elaborates, because they know the better the story, the better the deal. So this trial today is not about Manafort. If Manafort hadn't been associated with the Trump campaign, he'd be out in New York or wherever doing his business. It's an attempt to convict him of whatever they can possibly find against him, no matter how unrelated it is to the Mueller probe, in order to squeeze him and get him to sing and maybe even compose.
Well, how is that different from what the mafia does? Do what I want or I'll take your life away. That's not justice as I thought it was practiced in this country at all.
Well, unfortunately, it is the way justice has been practiced against the mafia and against terrorists, and we civil libertarians have long been opposed to this way of dealing with problems. But the civil libertarians are quiet today. Why? Because the object is Donald Trump. Do you hear the ACLU complaining about this? Do you hear the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers complaining about this? Do you hear other Democrat civil libertarians complaining about this? No. We've always complained about this tactic when it's used against other people. But now you have some zealots standing in front of the courthouse with signs saying, lock him up, lock him up. You know, I was objecting when they had signs saying, lock her up, relating to Hillary Clinton, because I'd be making the same argument if Hillary Clinton had been elected president. And it was the Republicans who were trying to squeeze somebody to go after her. And civil libertarians all over the country ought to be concerned about this. But instead, like everybody else, they're taking sides. If this hurts Trump, it's good. If it helps Trump, it's no good. The Republicans take the opposite point of view. It's not good. It's not good for justice. It's not good for civil liberties.
Well, especially when an actual human being, a 68-year-old man, is facing life in prison for not filling out the bank forms correctly. It's pretty unbelievable. Professor, thank you for your perspective on that.
Thank you.